Hey, YouTubers. It's been a minute since I've last posted a video on YouTube about current events. And so I figured I'd go ahead and give some takes about uh, what's been happening the last few days. Today's like Sunday night, getting ready to go into Monday morning. And, you know, one of the things that's going on in the news is about these states going around passing laws about drag queens. And it's like, oh, drag queens, we need to ban them from performing in public because of the children. The children are going to be exposed to this. And it's going to be, the end of the world. Oh, no, the children. And then I remember about the Old Testament and Lot's daughters trying to get him drunk so they can seduce him. Now, can you imagine kids reading that and some little girl reading that in the Old Testament going, Mommy, what does seduce mean? Can't I seduce my daddy? The Bible says that Lot got seduced by his daughters. I love my daddy. Can I seduce my daddy? I mean, seriously. The Bible talking about daughters trying to fuck their father. That's not pornographic? I mean, get the fuck out of here, man. I'm sick and tired of these fucking cuck fuck Jesus freak fuckheads bitching about drag queens. Now, I will say this when it comes to transgender athletes, okay? It's a tough situation. I have a lot of empathy for transgender athletes. They want to compete, and I get any athletes wants to compete against others, but the Republicans are using this as just as a segue to try to demonize transgender athletes. Not that because they give a fuck about female athletes. Republicans have never given a fuck about female athletes. In fact, Republicans have bitched about Title IX when it comes to funding in sports. And they use football, college football as an example because there's no female sport that, that's even comes close to, equaling the number of athletes that field a college football team versus a female sporting team. And according to Title IX, whatever your representation of your student body is, you're supposed to have a number of scholarships for female athletes. So in other words, like a lot of colleges have like 53, 55% females in the student body. Well, that means that 53 or 55% of your athletic scholarships should go to females. But football distorts all that. And so, these Republicans are bitching about, well, you got to make exceptions for football, blah, blah, blah. But now they're seizing on the transgender. And they're like, well, all of a sudden we care about women's sports. Because it's not fair that a male transitioning to a female, she has a biological advantage because she was born a male. Now, I'm going to be honest here and give my take on this. While I have empathy for transgender athletes, who want to compete, I do feel that it is unfair for female athletes who train their whole lives trying to win, whether it's a high school state championship or win like the nationals in college or the Olympics, competing against someone who was born with male body parts. And I think it's more than fair to exclude transgender athletes from competing against women, especially like with the with mixed martial arts. I mean, you get a female that who's transitioning to female. I don't care how much estrogen you take, you still got bone density, and you still got you're born with male body parts, with male bone structure. And that gives you, and you're born with male strength. And that gives you an advantage over virtually any female. You can seriously hurt a female in the ring. I mean, if I had a daughter going in the ring against a transgender boxer, I would be like, no, I don't want you to die. And that does not mean that I hate transgender people, you know, or I don't want them to be able to play sports. I do want them to be able to play sports. But unfortunately, it should be only against other transgender athletes. Now, the problem is there's not nearly the number of transgender athletes, especially at the high school level, that there are women athletes. So, I mean, how do you solve this problem when it comes to, giving transgender athletes an opportunity to compete athletically? I don't know. And it's okay to say I don't fucking know. But I do know that it should not be at the expense of female athletes, because it's not fair to them to have to compete against someone who was born a biological male. But the Republicans, they're phony about this issue. They don't give a fuck about female sports. They're just using it as a way to get in and get females to vote on their side, even though Republicans don't care about fucking women's issues. What they care about is just using this as a wedge issue to score political points. Fuck the Republicans. And yeah, you got George Santos performing in drag. That motherfucker, man. This motherfucker's like that Cat Morris, man. This motherfucker got 9 lives. He got more than 9 lives. This motherfucker's just done every kind of scam, con job, lie that you can come up with. And he's still in Congress, man. And of course, the Republicans ain't doing anything about it because they need that motherfucker's vote. And as long as he vote in the way that his daddy McCarthy wants him to vote, he's going to stay a congressman. The fucking Republicans don't care about family fucking values. They don't care about fucking honesty and integrity. I'm sick of this shit. A bunch of fucking fascist, phony motherfuckers, man. They stuck with Trump despite him bragging about grabbing women by their fucking pussies. That should expel the motherfucker. When you sit there and brag about grabbing a female by her pussy anytime he wants, because he has it like that, the fucking Jesus freak moralist should have been like, you know what? That's a line that I can't cross. How would you feel if it was your daughter he did that to? Your wife, your sister, your mother. But of course you guys are like, well, he won't do that to none of my people. Fuck you. It's just unreal. Just the denial, the ignorance of the average Republican voter and the average Trump supporter. Unreal. What's going on? What else is going on today? I got this bank here in California, that was, I guess, the go-to bank for all these, startups, these tech companies to get money from. And it went under. Of course, I read that their management got bonuses, big bonuses, right before the bank went under. The fucking gall of these people. Corporate greed is just endless. Most white people support big business. And they're like, they support it. They want taxes to be as low as possible on big business. They want big business to have the least amount of regulations. And yet, the money that gets fucking lost, a run gets made on the bank. And meanwhile, the people that got their money in the bank, their assets are frozen. Trump deregulated the railroad industry. And yet, poor white people in Ohio are bitching at Obama, at President Biden for not visiting Ohio. Like, what the fuck? You should be bitching at your fucking Lord and Savior Trump. You inbred fucking fascist motherfuckers. I swear, your anger is directed at the wrong motherfucker. But you're just too stupid to accept reality. It's like you motherfuckers keep doubling the fuck down. You can't admit that you're fucking wrong. That's what it is about fucking white people. You motherfuckers can't admit that you're ever fucking wrong. You double down, and double down like your boy Trump does. Never admitting that you made a mistake or you don't know. Unreal. I mean, fucking Trump. This motherfucker, it's surprising that he hasn't been indicted for all the shit that he's done. They keep saying he's close to being indicted. He's close to being indicted. And I'm like, how does this motherfucker keep escaping being held accountable for his fucking horrific actions? He caused January the 6th to happen. And he hasn't been charged with anything. He had Michael Cohen use campaign finance money to pay off fucking Stormy Daniels to not go to the press about him fucking her right before Election Day. Michael Cohen goes to jail for it. Trump, nothing happens to him. Trump inflated the value of his businesses in order to get fucking loans based on that inflated value. But when it came time to fucking pay taxes to the state of New York, he deflated the value of his businesses in order to pay less in taxes. Both documents from the banks and from the state of New York clearly show a wide disparity of figures when it comes to what Trump signed off on, what they were worth in the same fucking year. And yet this motherfucker hasn't been prosecuted for this shit. If a regular person did this shit, they'd be in jail right now. Fucking Trump does it, ain't nothing happening. What the fuck? That's why I keep thinking, law enforcement, the purpose of law enforcement is not to protect and serve regular people. It's to protect the rich, big business, those in power, and other fucking cops. I mean, like a bank can do like horrific activities. Like Wells Fargo with all this creating these fake accounts that happened in the last couple of years. They got busted for it. They had to pay a $6 billion fine. And they're still in business. And not only that, they still made a profit that year. If you can not only afford to pay a $6 billion fine for some misdeeds, and yet still make a profit that year, then guess what? Crime pays if you are a corporation. Pay a $6 billion fine and still make a profit. It's like this railroad industry with this, we're not going to fucking have hardly any workers on the train. We're going to have these fucking faulty brakes. And you know what? We're going to take chances that an accident doesn't happen. And, if it does happen down the line, then at least we saved all this money. And if we got to pay a little bit out in lawsuits, then we still made bank. They don't care about public safety. They care about profits. End of the story. Profits. Profits over people. That's what these motherfuckers are all about. I watched a thing last night on CNN about the Murdoch family down in, South Carolina. The Alex Murdoch guy got convicted of murdering his wife and his daughter and his son. And they went into detail. I think it originally appeared on HBO last fall. But the Murdaugh family, I guess this part of South Carolina is called Low Country. And it goes back 100 years to like great-grandfather Murdaugh and his son. They all basically ran the prosecutor's office from one generation to the next until like just recently. And not only that, they had a civil office that handled all these cases with civil law. So they ran the criminal and the civil on this little small part of South Carolina. And they were all connected to law enforcement, the sheriff deputies, the police force, and with the people that own the banks. And they had, oh man, it's been like a cycle of incestuous crime. And they cover each other's backs. And they rip off the poor people that these lawyers would defend and get these big settlements. And instead of settlements going to the people, they scammed them out of their fucking money. And all this scratching my back, I scratch your back. I mean, it only benefits the white people in power. And yet white people are just like totally oblivious to, when somebody said was the system. Systemic racism. They're like, white people hate to hear that shit. They absolutely hate to hear that word, systemic racism. But you look at what the whole Murdaugh situation in South Carolina, that's a classic example of systemic racism that keeps fucking poor black people down and poor white people too. While rich white people, powerful white people are fucking dipping in the kitty and fucking, able to fucking live a lavish lifestyle. And of course, white people, regular white people are going to look at that and, they don't want to, accept reality. They want to fucking, look at the Murdaughs as being like, hey, they're pillars of the community. They go to church. They support law enforcement. They're good people. Because that last thing that the average white fuck wants to do is to accept reality.